Welcome. Thank you for attending today's webinar hosted by the Organization Development and Change and Workforce Education and Development Program at Penn State. Today, we have the great pleasure of welcoming our presenter, Dr. Jong Gyu Park. My name is Jenny Lee, and I'm a Ph.D. candidate in Workforce Education and Development Program. We also have Sagan Giri with us today, who will be managing chat feature and Q&A session. In terms of the interactive format for this webinar, please open the chat feature in the Zoom platform to interact. If you have any questions about the presentation, please use Q&A feature on Zoom. You can see the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. Click the Q&A button and write your questions. The Q&A session will be at the end of the presentation. Our online Master of Professional Studies in Organization Development and Change can help you prepare to implement quality and continuous improvement initiatives in an organization. Furthermore, there is a Ph.D. program in Workforce Education and Development with a concentration in human resource development and organization development. Our program has created a continuous monthly webinar series with experts around the world. Today, we welcome Dr. Park. Dr. Jong Gyu Park is an assistant professor of management in the Department of Business Administration at Penn State Altoona. He is also a co-founder of Global Leadership Research Labs, which is a research network among leadership scholars and practitioners from China, Denmark, France, Germany, and the United States. Prior to joining Penn State, he worked for Deloitte and Willis Towers Watson as a management consultant. He earned his Ph.D. in Business Administration with an emphasis in Organization and Human Resources at the Sungkyunkwan University in South Korea, and also holds another Ph.D. in Workforce Education and Development at Penn State. His current specialist areas of interest and research include shared leadership, humble leadership, and leadership development in the organization. He has published many journal articles with this topic. Here's Dr. Park.
Okay, thank you so much, Jenny. So hello, everyone. So thank you for attending this webinar. So my name is Jong Gyu Park, as mentioned in my introduction. So today, about 40 to 45 minutes, I'm going to explain about the leadership and especially on the shared leadership. That is one kind of bottom-up approaches to leadership. So here are today's topic and outline. And the keywords are the leadership and the bottom-up approaches to leadership. The leadership is about how to lead and influence others. And the bottom-up approaches to leadership is how to lead and influence others from the bottom. So by the end of this session, I hope we can learn first what leadership and what is collective approach to leadership. That is what shared leadership is. And second, in the era of millennials and Gen Z, iGen, the why shared leadership is important in organizational setting to make an effective change. And lastly, the how to develop and how to implement the shared leadership as a leadership intervention, especially for the OD, the organization development consulting and process. Okay, please feel free to leave your chatting message while you taking this, while you listen some presentation. So because I can also see the chatting window, so please feel free to leave your message. Okay, before we start, I'd like to ask your own sense and perception of leadership values. So if you want to be an effective leader, I think it is very important to think about and clarify your own sense of leadership values. So please reflect upon the values that you define a leadership based on this sentence. So what is your keywords or cornerstone. Yes, cornerstone is the same as keywords at here. What is your keywords or what is your cornerstone in your approach to leadership? Yes, this is the question to you. Collaboration. Yes, communication. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Janet. Yes, authenticity, trust, service, respect. Yes, another service, confidence. Yes, that's very important, confidence. Yes, collaboration. Actually, that's the thing I want to explain today. Yes, Blake and Mutin's leadership grid. Yeah, absolutely. You learned OB. Thank you so much, Nevin. And transparency, vulnerability, inclusion. Thank you so much, Freeman. Yes, thank you so much for your different opinions to my question. That's great. You are participating in this session. Right. Actually, everything is right answer. And I totally agree with every keywords you just left in this chatting function, chatting window is correct. And as you know, there is no right or wrong answer. Yes, ethics. Thank you, Dr. Donayu. Yes, I know you are very interested in ethical leadership. Thank you so much. Yes, there is no right answer. So it means there are so many, as you can see at here. So there are so many different perspectives and perceptions on leadership. So, and everything's are correct. So I like to point out this. So you, as a leader and the professional, the OD professional or HR professional, you need to clarify your own sense and definition of leadership values. And this is the first step to be an effective leader. Thank you so much. Okay, let me keep going. Then what is leadership? A little bit boring story because this is about the definition from the leadership scholars. So although many different perceptions of definitions exist, in general, the leadership can be defined as a process of providing general direction from a position of influence to individuals or group toward the successful attainment of goal. And according to Gary Euclid, Gary Euclid is very famous. He has a big name in the leadership field. He defined leadership as in influencing task objective and strategies, and influencing commitment and compliance in task behavior to achieve these objectives, and influencing group maintenance and identification, and influencing the culture of an organization. So from this definition, we can find leadership is ability to influence. Yes, influencing others is a keyword. So it's about the ability to influence other people toward the achievement of organizational goals. But actually, I like this practical definition more from the Indra Nui, the woman CEO of PepsiCo. She mentioned the leadership is hard to define and good leadership even harder. But if we can get people to follow you to the ends of the earth, you are a great leader. Yes, your leadership can be defined by your followers. Okay, I'm going to start with my personal story, my leadership experience when I worked in Deloitte as a module leader. So I hope you can get some implication from my story about leadership experience. So before I started my doctoral study at Penn State, so I worked as a management consultant, and I worked for the organization strategy and HR human resource consulting project. And this is the story in 2009. Yeah, quite very old. Yeah, it's almost 12 years ago when my job level in Deloitte was the entry level. So here, this is the generic job level in the management consulting from junior, the senior, and executive. And I was in this entry level of the senior consultant. And every consultant worked in the project team. And like this is the generic role in project team. Project leader is here. So if we assume this is the HR transformation project, there is some compensation part, and maybe I take a role of talent management something. Yes, I was a module leader in talent management. And it means because I also had my subordinate, my followers, so I had to supervise the other project team members here, these guys. So this was my position in the 4-stage professional model. So this 4-stage model identifies the way or stages that people contribute and describe what high performance is in each stage. So first stage 1 is contributing dependently, stage 2 is contributing independently, stage 3, the contributing through others, and last stage is contributing strategically. So for example, in the stage, let me highlight this stage 3. In this, because I'm here. So in this stage 3, I need to stimulate others through ideas and knowledge. Also, I need to involve them as a manager, sometimes mentor or coach or idea leader in developing others. So name of stage 3 is, as you can see, the contributing through others. So because I was in the beginning of this stage as a module leader, so it means I need to show certain level of leadership to my followers, to my team members. So I had 2 cases to challenge my leadership at the time. So okay, let me explain about the case 1 first. So when I took the module leader at the first time, I worked with 2 male junior consultant. At that time, they were very similar to me in terms of working style and working pattern and trait. But as for the second case here, model leader for the second time, although I also took a model leader, but I worked with 3 female consultants. So do you know, but the key is here. I don't know who they really are. So do you remember the book, the title in the Men Are From Mars, the Women Are From Venus? As long as I remember, it was published almost 30 years ago, but some of you probably remember that. So as the book said, I did not have, so that book pointed out the difference between the men and women in, especially on their communication style is totally different each other. So as the book said, I did not have any idea about them to these 3 female followers. So actually I did not know that. I did not know them. So results are so different. So first case with guys, I felt I had a successful relation with them, even though it was my first time experience as a module leader, because they gave me a feedback. They had the value. They gave me feedback, something like that they had some valuable experience under my supervising. However, in this second case with ladies, I was totally panicked by their feedback and the response. So I think they hated me, really hated me. And they did not even want to talk to me. So finally, the one female consultant cried after my feedback. So I was really frustrated. So can you guess why I failed? The key is not the male and the female. The key is this one, the similar trait with me, but I had no knowledge at all, no information at all about these 3 female consultants. But actually, frankly speaking, my major and research at the time, my research interest at the time has long been leadership. So also I have lots of leadership projects and also provide a lecture while I was working. But it means I already knew some important leadership theories and how to show leadership to others and consequences from bad leadership. So I was ashamed, but it's true. So at the time, I already knew it is very important to show leadership based on trust. Yeah, trust. Yes, I remembered I saw the keyword trust in this chatting window. So I think you participants also believe trust is a key in this leadership process. So for example, people who recognize others because they want praise or recognition, maybe if you are effective leader, you should appeal to their religion. And to people who help others, because their key is the support and encouragement, effective leader might be appeal to their want. And people who understand others, maybe they have some sympathy and agreement. They might want agreement. We should appeal to their emotion like this, because the rule of trust is do to others as you would have them to you, or the same one, to treat others as you like others to treat you. Yes, like this, I already knew the rule of trust, do to others as they would be treated. So effective leader can change their leadership style considering the situation and others' characteristics. I called it chameleon leader. So like a chameleon, I had to show a certain leadership style based on other style, the fit to followers' needs and readiness, and their developmental stage as well. Let's see this picture. This shows the 4 genetic type of trait of people. So many of you already know this is the DISC model. DISC character, the personality types coined from this dominant style, influence, the steadiness, and consciousness style. You probably learned or heard about this. So people with same type can understand each other easily, like me and 2 male junior consultants in the first case. But people with different type can have problems such as the misunderstanding and lack of communication, like my second case, because they have priority problems and pace problems, or they have both pace and priority problems. Depends on their personality type. So this is also related to situational leadership theory. Yes, I remember the Blake and Wooten leadership theory from the chatting window. Yes, this is kind of the situational leadership style. So this is my conclusion from my leadership experience, the leadership, the endless challenge of my life. So at the first, it is important to know which leadership style fit the situation. The second, moreover, leadership is not just knowing, but doing by behavior. So I must need to know and do leadership at the same time. And what do you think? We already know what is important for leadership relationship between people, but most important thing is not knowing, but doing. Okay, I'm sorry, my background story was too long, but from my long story, I realized, based on my story, I realized that my new challenge as a leadership and OD scholar and professional are here. First, as a leadership and OD scholar, what are the emerging trends in the management and organizational studies? Or what is the future of work? And second, as a leadership and OD professional, we should know my new challenge is which leadership style fits the situation, or what are the key characteristics of my clients or my followers. So that is that we need to think about what is an effective and the better leadership style when we consider our followers and clients. I think this is probably your challenges as well, because even if you have been a good leader, the target of your leadership, your followers and your clients have changed, and they probably different from you. So first, we should know who are our followers and client. So I can find, I got some message in Q&A chatting message from Ryan. So if you need to adjust your leadership style to fit different followers, can it potentially seen as a favoritism? Yes, it's possible. So we need the art of leadership. Because it's very difficult, very difficult. So how do you avoid those sort of problems? If you have your own standard and if you have a very strong cornerstone in your mind in terms of your leadership, although you can slightly change your leadership style to fit to your followers' personality and their characteristic, if you have your own standard, I don't think it can be some kind of favoritism, because you will be fair to every followers. I think so. Okay, thank you so much for catching Ryan. Okay, let me keep going. Give me a second. Okay, so in terms of, actually, it's a best case if we can realize, you can find out, so every follower's characteristic and everyone's situation, individual situation, but it's almost impossible. So we can just more focus on there are some general characteristics of your followers. So in terms of, I'm gonna more focus on some age, generation diversity in organization. So in terms of age and generation diversity in your organization, in general, there are 4 or 5 different age groups, as you know. Yeah, traditionalist, the older group, and baby boomers, and Gen X, Gen Y, this is the millennials, right? Millennials, and Gen Z. So Gen Z, also known as I generation, iGen, or centennials. Yes, this Gen Z refers to the generation that was born between 1996 and 2012. They are the first generation to reach teenager after smartphone became widespread. That is, they don't know a world without the internet or smartphone. So this generation has been raised on the internet and social media. I'm sure some of the participants, you belong to this generation Z. The thing is, they already started to enter to the workplace. Yes, considering their age, because the oldest Asian, because they born in 1996, 22, this year is 21st. Yes, the oldest Asian is already 25. Plus, according to the US Census Bureau, they account for almost 1/3 of the United States population. So my next question is, when do we consider Asians' general features? Which leadership style fits them? In other words, which leadership style they like, or which leadership style the millennials and iGen hate. So that's my question, and maybe you have the same question. So let's see this image. Yeah, top-down leadership approach, look up and look down. So when top level guys look down, they see only, yeah, this. I cannot lead this in front of a total 69 participants. Or when bottom level guys look up, they see only this one. And this is not be highlighted, but anyway, yes. But think about the traditional leadership approaches. The previous leadership theories are developed on the basis of the traditional hierarchical structure, the pyramid organizational structure. And those leadership studies only focused on the appointed, assigned, and former leaders' role and their responsibility in this hierarchical organizational structure. But as we can see, there are many problems if we only think top-down approach to leadership. This is why we need to learn other leadership perspectives, such as bottom-up approach or collective approach or power distributing approach to leadership. So I like to introduce collective approach to leadership, also known as the leadership in the plural, because there are multiple leaders and multiple individuals involved in leadership process. So this approach is also one kind of the contemporary leadership theories and relatively new leadership theories that were introduced after the 2010s. So in the past, the researchers have only focused on the single heroic leader and their personal characteristics and their behavioral patterns. However, the good thing is the more and more studies on leadership are talking about these collectivistic approaches to leadership. So a collectivistic leadership approach posits the shared and distributed leadership functions among different individuals in interaction. And collective leadership represent an emerging theoretical umbrella that captures diverse grasp on the shared, distributed, pooled, and relational aspect of leadership. So this collectivistic approaches to leadership refers to any leadership approach that engage the multiple leaders and multiple individuals to work together toward the goal in the leadership process. The interesting point is the collective forms of leadership tend to be described with many different labels and brands and names. Yes, as you can see here, there are too many different labels and brands, from the shared leadership network, complexity, collective, relational, cooperative, dispersed, rotated, blah, blah. Yes, so many. Yes, to the best of my knowledge, the shared leadership is the most popular term in business and management field, and distributed leadership, this one, distributed leadership is more popular in education field. in higher education and educational leadership. So I'm going to elaborate more about the shared leadership, but actually it covers the type of the leadership in the plural and collectivistic approaches to leadership. So previous studies have commonly defined shared leadership as a process of a reciprocal and collective influence with each member of the team sharing the leadership function. And according to previous research studies, teams with shared leadership have less conflict, more consensus, more trust, and more cohesion than teams that do not have shared leadership. So I strongly believe shared leadership can be adapted to many contexts, especially for millennials and iGen who are becoming and will be a major part of future employees very soon. Because iGen probably dislike the hierarchical direction, and they are more likely to accept the concept of the sharing, distribution, and decentralization. I'm sorry. Yes, I can read the chatting message. Yeah. So can you obtain a copy of recording and PPT? Yes. So yeah, please contact the Sagun. So if you want to get my PowerPoint slide, please contact him or me. You can easily find my email address at the end of this slide. I'm not sure, but I can share it. So please let me know. Okay, let me keep going. So let's compare these two images, the traditional leadership model versus the shared leadership model. So this traditional leadership model that is only focused on one heroic leader. And it stressed the role and responsibility of the appointed, the official leader. On the contrary, this one, the shared leadership model more focused on the collective influence with every individuals like this. Every individual sharing the leadership function. Once again, the shared leadership is rather than the being solely responsible for decision making, the leader shares, although the team has appointed leader or the former official leader, the leader shares responsibility with the group as a member, strive to complete the common goals. Yes, it looks like so cool and nice, right? But I am sure that some of you might have a question. Is this concept of shared leadership really exist in the industry and working well? So I totally understand because I was the same. But my answer is yes, because there are several companies were applying the concept of this shared leadership already. So some of you already know about this very famous case of W.L. Gore or Zappos. Yes, Zappos is also very famous in the shared leadership structure, although their CEO, Tony Hsieh, passed away the last year, early this year. But anyway, I'm gonna explain about W.L. Gore. And W.L. Gore and Zappos is a good case of the shared leadership. This W.L. Gore and Associates, they produce, as you know, they produce many different kinds of unique products. So you probably know the Gore-Tex. Yes, from W.L. Gore and Associates. And they are very famous in innovation and technology-driven solutions. And Gore is also well known for its unique organizational and management style. Plus, they are always listed in the 100 best companies to work for list. So this is a strong evidence they are doing a great job on not only profitability, but also as a great workplace. So one reason Gore is repeatedly named one of the 100 best companies to work for is their unusual corporate culture where all employees are known as associates and bosses are not found. Gore has an extreme team-based organization structure that eliminates the traditional hierarchy. So it's rare in Gore. Yes, associate, their employees are organized around the self-directed teams at dozens of manufacturing and sales offices around the world. And they have a very flat organizational structure, and its name is Lattice structure. Let me elaborate more about this Lattice structure. So actually the founder of the W.L. Gore and associate, the Bill Gore is the creator of this, the Lattice organizational structure, very innovative one. So their unique Lattice organization is a kind of the catalyst to participation and communication and creativity, because each person in the Lattice interacts directly with every other person with no intermediary. In general, the team leader or appointed leader takes a role as a mediator or the intermediator between the team or in the organization, but there is no obligation or responsibility. So as you can see, this image is very similar to the shared leadership structure. So like this, the W.L. Gore and associates successfully applied the concept of shared leadership, the bottom-up and power distributing approach to leadership. Also, there are many benefits as their employee. So far, I have explained why shared leadership is important, especially to iGen and millennials, because first of all, it's working well. And there are many good things by applying the concept. I think so. So most of all, shared leadership is better to influence iGen and millennials rather than the traditional hierarchical approach to leadership. So for this reason, I have been conducted several research studies on shared leadership. So first, as you can see here, I conducted this shared leadership in teams qualitative analysis, theoretical team antecedent and outcomes, and to find some underlying concept of shared leadership, I also conducted some text mining based analysis to the shared leadership literatures. So let me briefly explain about my research to help you understand what are the key characteristics of shared leadership. So this is a behavioral demonstration of shared leadership. It means that we can observe these kind of behaviors when the team and when the organization has a certain level of shared leadership. So I found this by analyzing interviewees, the responses. So shared leadership includes the team members autonomously making a decision. And when they taking a proactive initiative, when they engage extra role behavior such as OCB, organizational citizenship behavior, or when they horizontally making a joint decision among every team members. Also, if there is a vertically joint decision between appointed leader and team members, we can find a certain level of shared leadership. And here are some sample direct quotes of interviewees' comments. Okay, from these findings, we can find, so making a decision process, if we make a joint decision, if we can make some consensus among team members when we make a very important decision, we can have some kind of certain level of shared leadership. And this is the proximal antecedent of shared leadership. So that is, it's about what individual factors affect shared leadership. So these individual factors are about individual traits, such as their emotion, the cognition, and motivation, which generate the shared leadership in team. So because shared leadership involves not a single appointed leader, but all team members, each team member's individual factors are very important. So I found the various proximal and individual antecedents, including the holding core team evaluation, when team has a team awareness or higher level of team esteem, and team members have this corrective efficacy. Also, when they show the team trust, and when they create the open communication climate, then it can promote the shared leadership. And I also found a situational antecedent of shared leadership. Yes, I was able to find many kinds of the situational antecedents which influence the emergence of shared leadership. So total 14 antecedents were detected, and they were categorized into the 3 categories. First is the formal leader trait, and second one is team composition and work characteristic. The point is, I'd like to point out this one, formal leader trait, the coordination, empowerment, coaching, trust building, and vision proposition. As I commented, although we are successfully applying the shared leadership in our team, it's possible the team already has appointed leader, because this is the generic type of the team formation, right? But only when the formal leader shows they empower their followers, they delegate their role to their followers, and they are doing a coaching behavior very well. They show the trust, and they have to build the trust in the team. And the formal leader shows the clear vision, then it can promote shared leadership. Think about this. I'm sorry, because I'm using my iPad. So think about this case. Powerful top-down leadership style from appointed leader and shared leadership are mutually incompatible. So this is the reason why we can find this kind of the formal leader trait as a situational antecedent of shared leadership. Yeah, still, although we want to apply the shared leadership in our organization, still the role and responsibility of the formal leader is very important. And in terms of multiple outcomes of shared leadership, so previous studies already indicated shared leadership has a positive relationship with team performance, but I wanted to investigate the various outcomes from shared leadership. So I discovered the shared leadership has a various short-term and long-term outcomes on individuals and teams. And this table displays so each category and its degree of effect. So interesting point was, because we have no enough time, so I'm gonna point out the important point from here. So in terms of this performance, the shared leadership has a strong effect on this area is the long term. So it has a very strong effect on the long-term performance, but has a very weak effect to its short-term on their short-term performance. And I believe this is related with the potential inefficiency. This is a negative outcomes of shared leadership. So in short-term period, I found it's possible the shared leadership makes inefficiency because the many people, many followers are involved in decision-making and communication process. So it's possible, but long-termly, we can expect a better performance than the strong, powerful hierarchical leadership. So from this table and previous slide, I think it can be a useful reference for designing curricula to promote a shared leadership. And I also conducted another research to find the key underlying characteristics of collective approaches to leadership studies. So I used the text mining approaches to conduct a comprehensive analysis of around 1,300 articles between 2000 and 2019 on the subject of collective leadership approaches. So I like to share the result of text mining very quickly because it shows another interesting result. So I found the most prominent topics discussed on the collective leadership approaches is network and relations, and education and school, team and performance, and non-qualitative design and setting, collaboration in healthcare, and innovation and complexity, and organizational learning. So from this, we can find the collective approaches are popular concept in not only in the business and management, but also education and healthcare. And also organizational learning is very hot topic, the traditional hot topic in the HRD and OD area. So organizational learning is also one of important topic in collectivistic leadership research. Think about this, because many followers, many stakeholders are involved in the leadership process. Probably they can learn more about the leadership. So I think this is the reason why we can find organizational learning topic as underlying characteristics of collectivistic leadership. So, okay, let me conclude my presentation. 3 more pages, but very quickly, I can do that. So you can compare this top-down versus bottom-up approach from these 2 images, the pyramid versus inverted pyramid. The traditional top-down organizational structure is where the many employees' goals are often to please the boss. But consider now, look at this. So if we flip our approach and place the customer or client on top and structured our organization so that work groups, employees were empowered to think innovatively about how to better serve customers and improve process. And as you can guess, this is the focus of, this is OD, right? Organization development. So like this, we have learned the organization development is all about the humanistic bottom-up approach to changing organizations. Then which leadership style will fit to this OD between the traditional hierarchical leadership style and collective approach to leadership. So I strongly believe the latter one, the collective leadership approaches, that is shared leadership style, will fit to this OD practice. So here are key takeaways. First, to leaders. So I'm sure there are so many leaders among the participants. So first, we should understand the bottom-up approach is sometimes better than a top-down approaches in your organization and relations with your followers. Second, trust your followers and focus on their strengths. And third, coach your followers to develop their shared leadership. So please have positive perspectives to your followers so they can do it. You are not the only one you show your leadership behavior. They can do it as well. So set the goal together. and share information as many as possible. And don't forget, although you may want to apply shared leadership, don't forget you are still a former appointed leader. So you need to reflect on your leadership style and skills. And lesson learned for OD professionals. So first, please don't forget we are all change leaders. So we need to reflect on our own leadership styles and skills ourselves. Second, trust your client. And third, respect the individual differences of your leadership partners when you do an OD project. Because there are so many stakeholders are involved to the OD process. So it's very important. The first, to verify that each stakeholder understand their roles and how they can support each other to achieve an OD project success. And lastly and finally, please keep in mind that the collective approaches to leadership is more fit to OD spirit. So our new mission is the organization development and change by leading from the bottom. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Park. So we have a couple of questions here, and so I'll go through them one by one. So Janet asks, at project initiation with a team, you don't know how, with a team that you don't know, how do you identify who needs more guidance and who needs to run with their piece of the project? In other words, who needs which style of leadership?
So, okay, I also can see the question. So project initiator, the team don't know how do you identify this? So I told you the coaching is a very important antecedent to emerge the shared leadership. So coaching behavior includes the communication with your followers as many as possible. So there is no way to find out your followers' characteristic and their trait very quickly. So if you have a lot of experience, especially if you have a leadership experience for 20 years or 30 years, you can quickly recognize, okay, I can teach this guy because I can lead this one with empowering leadership style because I can quickly recognize who this guy is. But there is no shortcut as some beginner or intermediate level leader. So you need to talk to them what they want and what they prepare. So what's the goal of their in this team? So you need to talk. So I think that's the very important way to find out which leadership style is prepared in this team.
Thank you.
Does it make sense? Okay.
So Kumaris asks, does shared leadership compromise accountability? Is effective decision-making compromised due to a shared leadership? For example, delayed in achieving consensus?
Right, exactly. So that's a great point. So as I found from my qualitative research, absolutely, yeah, there is some delay on their decision making, and also there are sometimes there are many conflicts among team members when the appointed leader share his or her role to followers. But think about our ultimate goal, to enhance our individual performance, or we need to get certain level of performance from our team. So I believe although it will take more time, eventually we can get a better performance when we have a certain level of shared leadership in our team, rather than the traditional hierarchical type of leadership. If the team members are more familiar to this type of the shared leadership, the concept of shared leadership, and they are trained and they had a chance to develop their own shared leadership, absolutely it will work better, I think.
Thank you.
Okay,
So
thank you
we
so
have
much.
another one from Cheryl. If you
Mhm.
are working as a change practitioner on a project team with traditional hierarchical leadership sponsor, how can you influence the sponsor to become more collaborative without offending him or her?
I'm sure the Cheryl is working as a professional, the special OD professional. Thank you so much for the question, Cheryl. Right, that's the very important thing when you work with our sponsor, because sometimes there are some conflict of interest between the OD consultant and sponsor, because sponsor wanted to get the very quickly, sponsor wanted to get the result very quickly, but we all know it takes more time if we conduct a OD consulting, not a management consulting, because OD consulting involves many stakeholders, as many as possible, right? So I think the only way to persuade or get a participation from sponsor is to explain about the concept of this shared leadership. So everyone can be a leader of this project. It's not new, it's not me. We are a co-leader, including other stakeholders. So I think that's the thing, that's the important way to persuade your sponsor.
Thank you. So Theresa asks, is it possible to develop shared leadership in my area and within a formal structured organization, for instance, a government?
That's another good question, because I also had the same question when I started to think about what kind of this shared, whether the shared leadership is working or not working in those type of the very strict rule, has a very strict rule and very hierarchical traditional organization structure. But the good thing is, when I conducted that qualitative research, I had 4 or 5 participant interviewees from military. So they said, although it looks like it's very hard to implement this concept of shared leadership in military, but it's possible, because first of all, the soldiers are different from the previous soldiers. It means they are also iGen and millennials. Although they are working in the military, they prefer the more decentralized form of leadership, distributed type of leadership. And also sometimes, because there are so many complicated issues in the government or military, although their formal structure in their organization is very kind of the pyramid, but I'm sure when they should solve a very complicated issue, there is no more rank among stakeholders. So only way to solve the important complicated issue is make a collective decision, regardless of their hierarchy or their rank in organization. So I believe the military or government, they should accept and apply this concept of the shared leadership as well. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. We have time for one last question. So Janet asks, what skills do individual team members need? I'm thinking conflict management skill would be important. What do you think?
Sure, absolutely. Conflict management skill. Yes, although I was not able to set it as a key behavioral demonstration of shared leadership. Absolutely, I found the conflict management is very important behavioral demonstration of shared leadership. Also, the conflict management is very important role of a former leader in the team has a shared leadership, because there are so many people are involved in the decision-making process, there is a certain level of conflict. So conflict management is very important. Thank you for that great question and that great point.
Thank you, Dr. Park. Back to you, Jenny.
I would like to thank Dr. Park for sharing knowledge and expertise and wisdom with us today. If we didn't get to your question, please feel free to send us an email, or you can reach out to the presenter directly via email. On behalf of our OD&C program, we hope you found this webinar helpful. We would like to hear your feedback on our webinar series. Please take the survey using the link in the chat box. If you cannot get the link, we will send it to you via email. Our next webinar is about experiential education to advance knowledge capital in organizations by Dr. Mark Threatin on October 29th, Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. And also Penn State MPS OD&C and Workforce Education and Development Program is offering its first virtual conference on November 19th. We invite everyone here to join us for learning and networking. Registrations for all events can be found on all of our social media platforms. Thank you all for attending today, and see you in the next webinar. Thank you, Dr. Park.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. And I'm sorry I did not get answer to every question, but please feel free to contact me if you want to know more about the shared leadership and about this presentation. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.